Let's first introduce myself, because probably you not know me. I'm not very public figure. I was working for more than 8 years in digital, and before I also created projects. Many countries, many projects. Why enterprise? Because to be honest, before I came to enterprise, I was a little bit tired of the startups. So it's great atmosphere, it's great people, but most of the startups, unfortunately, are not very useful for people. They are or dying or they transforming into enterprise project. So I decided to switch to this part. And I worked in at Virtus Lab for almost 5 years. So 4 of them was as a designer and first year as a team lead. And I'm started my way as a speaker. I'm nervous, but I put a lot of effort in presentation, and I hope you'll like it. So nice to meet you, and let's start. Why this is important for me? 10 years, pretty long time. And this was a joke, which was popular 10 years ago, and I was shocked when I saw it on Twitter this year. And it was very popular again. So we know what the team A is responsible for. We know what the team B is responsible for. And designers are just do design. So it's very common, very unstructured. And another part, it was pretty popular thread few days ago, our presentation. Scary UX designer in 5 words or less. And the most popular answer was, we've been building this product for many months and now started designing it. So in fact, this is okay for startups, right? But in the enterprise fields, sometimes it's been years before first designers were involved. So we have very big technical depth from design side. As the most important part, lots of the people who are inside the project, inside the team, they don't know how to collaborate with designers. So for me, it's a hot topic. And let's check how relevant it would be for you. Because we have like general trends and local trends, and they're not the same sometimes. So for the front-end developers who are here at the cell. Nice. Awesome. To be honest, more than I expected. And UI UX designers. Ooh, nice. Also. So for the other part of the team, of course, we're still talking about the process, so it would be relevant. But this is like the hottest connection. So for you, it would be 3 questions to answer, and also just take your hands up. So the first one, in general, my project has research before start, any kind of it, and as a result, data is written down. For whom project this is actual true? 4, 5, 6, 7. Next one. In general, I know the design process of my project and its milestones. I can easily check the structure of planned design. Hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 for all of you. Great. And the last one. In general, I share a board in GitHub Jira with designers, and we're giving tasks to each other. So this is ping pong. Hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Great. Not a lot, unfortunately. And this needs to be standard for the corporation. And to be honest, I expected it would be more hands about this, so I hoped it would be less relevant. First things first, guerrilla test, it's still better than no test. So now at the moment, I know what's your preference about this and how you're feeling about current situation. So before I went and created the presentation, I asked my people who I'm working with, LinkedIn guys and the guys from previous work, their hottest topics. So this is questions now. This is specifically collected from it. And let's compare how it's relevant with you. So first question, before we will start, we'll go to this. I'm very thankful for the all people who are answered, because I know not a lot of people are okay with taking polls, research, any kinds of answering the questions. So if you were in this, I think around 20 people, so thank you a lot. So first one, research written down. So we have documentation, in fact. Let's in half. And also, I know who answered in the last part, because we have trauma from previous work and previous projects. So now we all have documentations for everything, like every possible moment. The second one, about design process and its structure. Not even a half. And this is, for me, also very important to at least be assured what these topics are covered and they are like in the air about how it should be. And the last one, in general, half or more or less, we do have communication through the board of Jira, right? So this is getting better. So the summary of working with designers, unfortunately, even now, even like for the lots of the articles and stories, and we know about this is talking about about this is very, it's hot topic about what design is needed, research is needed. It's very important to make field research. You need to collect data. We hear this a lot, but in fact, for the projects we are working at, many of them start from development. And when designers are coming, there's problems or at least some uncomfortable things about this. So no hard data for onboarding. And in fact, designers get some talks about the product. So we thinking this is working like this. We do have product, you can click for it. But there's nothing could be clear checked every time. No organized planning, because this is absolutely great for developers, and in general, the planning for designers, kind of one-to-one to development, but it needs to be separated, right? So design and development, it's different options for the product, and they both need to be planned. And the last one, no clear system of task assigning. Unfortunately, this is still a topic. Not all of us have boards, not all of us have even Trellos or some kind of prioritizations. And it's still just saying what needs to be done. And it's very sad. So it's much better on the startups when there is a value of designer who is working at the team, and it's much worse in the corporations. So if you can assume your manager or you can prepare any kind of data for designers, it would be better for you and it would be better for the designer who will come to your project. So how to make it better? First one, stated to start with, for me, it's more like instructions to the board games. So many of us working and playing after work. So first things first, it needs to be written down. And in case of any kind of the conflicts, any kinds of misunderstandings, kinds of two opinions about any kinds, if it's written down, we can just open it and check. And of course, when it would be next version, we can just rewrite it. But when it's written down, this is start the argumentation, and we have a clear point what we're talking about the project. So it's not an opinions. This is not an idea how it should be. This is data. It's lots of options how to prepare it. Obviously, this is full links. But even for the startups, it just needs to be list of clients' ideas and assumptions. This is the first one. So this is like you starting with, and after this, the more the better. Popular tools for this, Confluence, Code, and Notion, just in case if you have no documentation at all, very comfortable to have all of this. Second is work organization, and in fact, this is our board. I was happy to find a circular board, because in fact, every agile style needs to have like continuous situation about this. But we know where the places are, we can check it easily, and in every time of the moment, in every project, we can be sure how exactly the game would go about this. It also could be roadmap, action points, informational architecture. Unfortunately, even here, lots of the options still just undervalued, like informational architecture. So in many products, it just, oh, we know this, but it needs to be written down, it needs to be checked, and perfectly if you will have search for all of this. Figma, Mira, Confluence, Code, and Notion, kind of the same, but still important to mention. And the last one, my favorite, system of task assignment. Some projects are absolutely great about this. Some projects are the worst. But in fact, this is our round, right? So when the task started, what would be the first of them, what would be next, and what would be the final result of it? For development, it's absolutely great. For designers, it depends. So this is, for example, one of our corporate projects, how it was created, and this I'm talking about. So if you do have Jira and you have designers on the product, it's a very simple step. It shouldn't be something extra. You just need to have column in design. So all the things which manager would put and all the things which would later go to development, they just linked. Simple steps, but it makes great difference. And if you're working with a GitHub, this is the design field. So both of the screenshots are from my organization at the moment, and my work in general just to put all the things together, and sometimes it's harder than it looks like. So what's the summary of ways of working? Documented research, ideas before it was our design, very obvious but still very important. Clear work organization, how we're working, what would be in the future, how we're planning our work, and clear system of task assignment. And we have happy cat, because it's really important for all of us to not only do the things, but still enjoy it. Another thing what I would like to mention, if you're making some part of your project happier, you will have just effort of it. Because have the designer who is really excited to work with you and who's putting extra effort is very comfortable. And another step, it's dopamine to workflow. This is validation phase I would talk about. So our general discovery, development, validation, and rollout. I'm talking about this one. So validation is what you have week or sprint in your project when you're in fact checking was you right or not really. In general, it's not only for the corporations, for the startup also. You have just continuous flow of the development. It could be for months, it could be for a year, it could be for many years, but in fact, you never stop and say, hey, are we doing this right? Is this way we're going at? So pause and just check about this. And believe me, all your team would be just excited about the product. Yes, this is going on. Yes, we're doing the great things. This is really encourages people to work in a team and work for the product. Now we have a question part. I'm already nervous about this, but still, I hate ask questions on the conference. I almost never take a microphone because it needs to be public. So you can ask me questions and I will answer you later. And also, this is a QR code for the feedback for this presentation. And I will be, it would be really helpful for me if you will just click for it, like put any thoughts about, put any comments about what would be better for the future. Because again, research before taking actions. And we have 3 minutes for the questions. We'll be happy to answer.
Any questions?
All right, I can see a hand, but I'm not sure if the mic is working. Do you hear me? Yes? Okay. So let me.
It's going, it's going.
Yeah, okay, so I'll be the questions, the only one that's you have to answer now, please. So my question is, what would you advise to the designer that actually enters the development team that did not work with a designer earlier and this whole system
A little
doesn't
bit
work?
more voice in it. What I would recommend to designer?
Yes, what would you recommend to designer that enters a development team that doesn't, they didn't work with a designer before and all this process does not exist yet?
In fact, have a good manager. So this is the answer. Because in general, this is pretty uncomfortable situation when the designer joining the team. First, in general, that's only one designer. So many projects are starting with one designer join the team. He's alone, and he enters the existing system, and in fact, he needs to crash it and create a new one. And it's very much pressure about this. And lots of designers, they're just like, okay, I will just go with the flow, because if you have one designer and 10 developers, and developers in the management and developers at the CEO, it's very hard to be heard about what's in fact need to be done for the project. And in general, lots of the product just like, okay, like you're still paying me, I'm good.
So you're saying it all depends on the manager of the project.
Returning to the question about designer, what to do, this is probably the most important part. Be sure about your rights. So you have rights to be loud, you have rights to shout about product needs, and at least encourage people to work with you in the way that it's need to be worked with designers. So more courage, more high voice about this. And yeah, it takes time, unfortunately. So for the some project, it could be months. For the some project, it could be half of the year. But if you're pushing, in fact, you will have the structure sometime.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We still have 2-3 minutes, so I think there is a time for one more question.
Okay, maybe in the context of the last talk.
It was not for you, microphone. That's why they're laughing.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, then... okay,
That's
so
great. I'm
maybe
listening to you. Just finish and we will go next.
Okay. Well, so short, what perspective do you see for AI to take over designer work?
This is a very good question. But in fact, I don't believe in it. And this is very simple stuff about. In fact, in my situation, in the corporate world, designer is more about structuring managers' thoughts and pushing some ideas about good ways of working than in fact doing their jobs. So if in the startups this is more like, okay, we need to create it, we can do this. In the corporates, it's more like, hey, you need to see this, you need to make this, and after this we need to create a structure, and after this we will make this, this, and this. So from my perspective, I believe what probably firstly will lose those jobs designers who are working for the startups. After it would be developers who are working for front-end developers who are working for the startups. After it would be back-end for the startups. After it would be not probably designers, front-end developers for the enterprise. After designers for the enterprise. And in the end, it would be back-end of the enterprise. So I believe I'm safe. Thank you.
Very precise answer, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've talked a lot about data and research and the meaning of data and research, but I'm not sure if you focus so much about the data validation maybe, because normally in the topics around software development, there are those rules like if you put a garbage in, you are taking the garbage out. So how to focus on specific data to prevent from losing time and effort in collecting meaningless chunks of information that can actually delay the project or even cause its failure.
As I said, firstly, I'm working for the enterprise, and in fact, it's a little bit different flow there. And I added last slide about the validation because it's very important. But in fact, in the corporate world, it's kind of okay for the managers to put trash in, because still, when we're trying to work it out, we're cleaning the stuff. And it's absolutely different timelines. So for example, for the startups, you're okay to have an idea, validate it, and be on the market in from 3 to 6 months, right? In the corporate world, this is only research for the first half of the year. So first half of the year, we're collecting all the things, and in general, it's so much data, and then this is collected by the third parties. After this is long time of interpretation of this data and validation of this data. So this is even before design started. It's like a year before design started. And after this, we have some assumptions. So it's written in documentation. And after this, we have live users to test. And I believe this is like the main difference between corporate and startups. It's because it doesn't matter what you're building. You will have data from it, right? So if you made a mistake, you will have data validation in the first month. So this is For example, at the moment, now I'm working in the project with 500,000 users. Doesn't matter what we will put there, we will have validation immediately. So this is like a self-balanced system. So if we will make any kind of mistakes, people will tell to us. If we will create something new, we will put it in the A/B testing and people will say to us. So this is like, that's why, by the way, I'm encouraging you to check the Wived, because this would be the great data validation.